Everyone, a team of martial artists, entered the Seven Wind Mountains on a hunt a few days ago, and in the den of a fierce tiger, discovered this little girl. The strangest thing was, this little girl not only was not devoured by the fierce tiger, but had even been living with it for quite a few years. She should have been abandoned as an infant in the wild, and was brought back by the tiger to its den. The host introduced the little girl's background, pointing at her. She might look small, but she is exceptionally strong. She's also very violent, does not know how to speak, and nor does she know how to walk on two legs. Her behavior is every bit like that of a wild beast. And now, let us all watch her performance in a battle with this wild wolf. All the spectators turned their attention to the little girl. The girl had a head of unkempt hair, and her whole body was filthy, covered with dust and dirt. Overall, she had a very bedraggled appearance and a very thin figure. Compared against that wild wolf, it was practically like comparing an infant with an adult. How was she supposed to battle against an opponent like that? The only end result would be being killed without mercy. Hang! Xuanhuan had also risen to his feet, a displeased expression on his face. This was too much. To actually use such a small child to entertain the audience. They were completely without any conscience. Linghan jumped into the wrestling ring and said, "Release this child." Hey! Hey, hey! Don't you know the rules? This is the property of the Dayuan king. How dare you come here to make trouble? The host was at first stunned before becoming extremely angry. But soon after, he was again stunned, and pointing at Linghan, he exclaimed, "Yi, you're the champion of this year's Dayuan tournament." After he managed to recognize Linghan, he dared not be too rash and explained, "Young Master Ling, this is the rule of the wrestling ring. Those who enter the wrestling ring can only battle. There is no difference between male or female, old or young. Then let me ask you, has she willingly entered the battles in the wrestling ring? Or what crime has she committed that she has no choice but to battle?" Linghan asked. The host was instantly lost for words. In this world, where only the strong would be respected, a wild girl would of course not engender anyone's attention. So what if she was sent to battle in the wrestling ring? Who would care? Who would mind? With this question from Linghan, the host had no idea how he was supposed to answer. Set her free. Xuanhuan had also leaped into the ring and coldly commanded the host. "Yes, fourth prince!" The host hurriedly assented. This was a man who may very possibly inherit the position of the Dayuan king. Naturally, no one would dare to disregard the words of Xuanhuan. Of course, he dared not release any prisoners, even if it was the command of the fourth prince. However, even if she was released, this wild girl would at most not have any identification papers and could be taken by anyone as a slave. Even if she was released, it wasn't a big deal. He ordered for the cage to be unlocked, and the little girl immediately pounced out like a cheetah. She was extremely strong, and the impact from her pouncing actually knocked down one of the workers in body refining tier. She had completely taken herself to be a wild beast. His small mouth opened, revealing two pairs of eerie snow-white teeth, aiming a bite at that man's throat. This was completely the attack style of a fierce tiger, biting down on the throat to cut off the air supply of its prey. Linghan quickly acted. He took hold of the little girl's neck, but the little girl instantly swiped her claws at Linghan without any hesitation. Chila. His sleeve was ripped open, a white mark left on Linghan's forearm. However, he had already learned the body of dead tree ability, so while the wild girl's claws were sharp, they only managed to leave behind a few white marks on his arm. Who? The wild girl bared her white teeth at Linghan, as if she was a fierce beast caught in a trap, looking very irritable. Linghan looked slightly surprised, because he was in the element gathering tier and possessed extremely powerful strength. Yet if he had not gripped tightly enough and held on, this wild little girl may have successfully struggled free from his grasp. But this wild little girl was only 5 or 6 years old, so she definitely should not have awakened her spirit base yet. How then was it possible that she possessed such powerful strength? Out of curiosity, Linghan used his consciousness to scan over her, and discovered there was actually origin power in the blood and flesh of the little girl. Unexpectedly, she really was a martial artist, and was in about the third layer of body refining tier. How was this possible? After a martial artist had awakened their spirit base, he could, with a cultivation technique, begin cultivation, absorbing spiritual chi and transforming it into origin power to refine his own blood, flesh, and bones. This was the body refining tier. Each martial artist cultivated with a cultivation technique, so naturally, there would be signs of the circulation paths of his origin path behind on the martial artist's body in accordance with the cultivation technique he was practicing. That was why a martial artist with a higher cultivation level was able to identify his opponent's cultivation level based on his circulation paths. That was also why Noon had discovered that this wild little girl had the ability of the third layer of body refining tier, because there was no sign that she had cultivated before. Linghan was different. He still possessed a sliver of the consciousness of heaven tier, and so managed to see through to the girl's essence. Could this little girl actually have a special constitution? But he had only heard of special constitutions being able to improve the owner's battle prowess, and had never heard that there was a special constitution that would aid the owner's cultivation. But if this little girl was not the descendant of those powerful races, then why had the fierce tiger adopted her? Moreover, she managed to form her own origin power without practicing any kind of cultivation technique. This was illogical no matter what, and the only explanation was that she had some kind of special constitution. True, there were so many different kinds of special constitutions in this world. How could he manage to comprehend all of them? Ling Han's expression remained unchanged. He turned and said to Qi Yongye, "I'll bring this little girl back first and give her a good cleaning." "Yi, you're not going to watch the upcoming battle?" Qi Yongye asked strangely. The battle of a martial artist in Gushing Spring tier did not come around every day, and to those at the peak of Element Gathering tier, watching this kind of battle would somewhat help them in their attempt to break through to Gushing Spring tier. No, Ling Han shook his head. For him, comprehension of the different tiers was something that he had absolutely no need of. He brought the wild little girl back to Heaven's Medicine Pavilion. The girl was extremely violent. She kept trying to find chances to bite him or scratch him, so Ling Han did not dare to be too careless. After all, the little girl's teeth were really powerful. If bitten, even he would feel a little pain. One has to know that he has already learned the Body of Dead Tree ability. Any ordinary attack not only would not be able to injure him, he wouldn't feel any bit of pain from it. He had possibly picked up a valuable treasure. Ling Han brought the little girl back to Heaven's Medicine Pavilion. Liu Yutong had not gone with him, as she had been making the final bit of accumulation, preparing to break through to Gushing Spring tier. She had just walked out, and seeing the dirty little child hanging from his hand, she could not help but be surprised. "It's good that you're here. Give this little girl a bath while I go out and buy her some clothing." Ling Han threw the wild little girl to her. "But you have to be careful. This little girl is quite strong and has very sharp teeth. If you're bitten, you'll definitely bleed." Liu Yutong's face was filled with shock. She was in the 9th layer of Element Gathering tier and long past Body Refining tier, so all the muscles in her body have been refined and became extremely tough. Only sharp weapons should be able to injure her. But now a little girl's bite could actually cause her to bleed too? But Ling Han was definitely not the type to speak nonsense, so she still very carefully took hold of the wild little girl. Ling Han went out and bought some children's clothing. By the time he returned, the wild little girl had completely changed. She was now like a lotus flower emerging from clear water, definitely a beauty in the bud. But the little girl was currently completely wrapped up in bedsheets, tied with a rope. This was not something that the strength of the 3rd layer of Body Refining tier could break out of, so she looked very funny. Though the little girl's appearance has completely changed and was given a gorgeous transformation, there was absolutely no decrease in her ferocity. She had still her small mouth open, growling in a low voice at Liu Yutong.